Hello, welcome to Time of Death. I'm your host, Dee.
And I'm Ris.
And we are re-recording for the umpteenth time. So here we go. Let's do it before we get cranky. Do you want to go into your spiel?
Cranky.
You want to go into your spiel?
Well, we are two nurses that like to talk true crime. We like to focus on cases that feature a medical professional as the perpetrator or the victim. Or we like to talk about cases that just have a heavy medical influence to them. So without further ado, Dee, take us away and enlighten us, amaze us, and educate us.
Buckle in, boys and gals, and cats and dogs, kittens and puppies, leprechauns and fairies.
Yep.
How could you be great keeping it out?
I don't know. I just am such in a bad mood right now.
Well, they probably lost our part where we talk about our PMS.
No, they didn't. We talked about that in the last half. It's foreshadowing. I guess.
All right, picture it.
Foreshadowing.
Picture it. Minnesota, 1980s. It was a time. Do you know how cold Minnesota gets, Ris? I know you know because I told you last time.
Pretty cold.
How cold is pretty cold?
Like sub-zero temps.
There you go. There you go. Picture it. December 1980. 19-year-old Jean? I need a drink. Jean Hilliard found herself driving on the icy roads of Langby, Minnesota, after she was out with her friends.
Mm-hmm.
That night took a treacherous turn of events when her car slid off the road and she wound up in a ditch.
Was she drinking under the influence?
Then how are you gonna ask the same question? I told you last time, it didn't say. I still don't know, Riz. I still don't know.
You know, it's just a common question. In my defense.
I think the last time we were talking about, did they have breathalyzers back then in the 1980s?
And I said, I don't know if they were discovered yet. I don't know if they were discovered back then.
Well, out here in the wild, wild west, amongst the many undiscovered plants, lies the breathalyzer. The breathalyzer. It's just a very shy being. First came about in the 1990s. I don't know for sure. I'm just talking out my butt.
I don't know when it was first
We Google
created, I guess, but
when was breathalyzer invented? When was breathing invented? Breath. Wow, we are really off, Riz.
we're so off our game.
1958.
Oh, the year of Mom's birth.
Why you gotta put her on blast? Oh, here it says 1954. And here, 1927. So it's a little
Dang.
controversial.
So it's been around a little while
She's
there.
a controversial gal. Okay. It's a good sign when Riss is laughing because we were both in like a rage earlier. What do you mean it's missing?
For some reason, every freaking week this happens to me where I mess up when I'm trying to save the freaking files. And then it becomes a panic where do we re-record or do I do an in-depth search for this freaking file? And Jimmy, thank goodness for Jimmy and his patience because he's here looking, trying to find it for me. And eventually I say, Jimmy, I'm just going to freaking re-record. I can't wait any longer.
Meanwhile, I'm in the bathroom having a panic attack that the little bump on my eye is something seriously wrong.
It's an ingrown hair.
It's an ingrown eyelash.
You actually can see the eyelash in it. You know, it's just an eyelash.
It's because I have very thick, beautiful, voluminous
That's true.
eyelashes.
Do you always remove your makeup?
Yeah.
Seemed unsure. Maybe that's why. I don't know, actually.
Don't put me on blast. All right.
Let's do this.
So, Jean bundles up boots, coat, hat, mittens, goes out into the freezing colds for help. So, temperatures are a negative 30 degrees Celsius, and this is actually fortunate because now I can tell you what temperature that is in Fahrenheit.
What is it, D?
Negative 22 degrees. So, negative 22 degrees, negative 30 degrees Celsius. She goes outside of her car, try to get to her friend's house. However, on her trek through the wilderness, she stumbles, falls, loses consciousness, and lies helpless in the cold. 6 hours pass, and her body is discovered by her friend, Wally Nelson. Overnight, she had endured the sub-zero temps, and her body was frozen stiff, quote, like a piece of meat out of a deep freezer.
So it was 6 hours that had passed before she was found by Wally.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. Frantic, Wally rushed her to the closest hospital about 10 minutes away. He initially thought that she was dead. Described her as frozen stiffer than a board. What is a Minnesota accent?
I don't know.
We won't go down.
Isn't it kind of Canadian?
What's my best Canadian accent?
I don't know.
Pancake. Oh.
What?
Syrup. I really like the maple syrup. I think they're just really nice.
They are really nice.
I don't want to piss off the
They think their O's are different than how we pronounce our O's.
otter.
Like home. I don't know. I think I'm imagining things. I feel like when they say, oh, house, they say like house, I think. I could be wrong. I could be very wrong. So the Minnesota accent is similar to, it's influenced by the Canadian accent, but I think they have some differences. I think I think generally they do sound pretty similar.
Interesting. So Wally initially thought that Jean was dead and described her body as frozen stiffer than a board. I think I said that.
Yeah.
The only sign of life that Jean had exhibited was a few bubbles coming out of her nose.
Mm-hmm.
Which I thought was really funny when I read that.
It's a little snot.
Just a little booger.
Just a little booger.
Booger. BLS. Booger life support. So, upon her arrival to the hospital in Boston, Minnesota, the hospital staff was pretty skeptical.
Mm-hmm.
They did not think Jean was going to survive. Her skin was so rigid that it resisted the penetration of needles, including an IV, because they were trying to start a line on her.
Mm-hmm.
They broke a bunch of them, broke the needles. They could not pierce her icy skin.
Oh, that's interesting.
The frigid temperatures had brought Jean's body temperature to 88 degrees Fahrenheit.
That's pretty cold. It's pretty cold there.
Pretty cold.
Mm-hmm.
Just for FYI, normal human body temperature is 98.7.
Yeah.
So more than 10 degrees.
Since 98.6.
I've been saying 98.7 for years. Who knows? We don't know nothing. I don't know nothing.
I think it's 98.6, but don't take my word on it. I don't know anything either.
But this is after multiple attempts to take her temperature, and they were getting like unreadable.
Yeah.
So keep in mind, she probably was actually even colder. Her heart was only beating 12 beats per minute.
Wow. Okay.
Which is...
But it was still beaten, so...
Still going strong.
There you go.
Her once rosy complexion had faded to a ghostly pale, and her eyes remained unresponsive to light, frozen solid in their sockets.
Wow.
So no perla.
Mm-hmm.
Pupils are equal round reactive to light and... I forget the last part.
Accommodation.
And you even said the same thing last time. I don't remember either. The doctors, as a last-ditch effort, decided to apply heating pads to Jean and began the painful process of thawing her out.
Mm-hmm.
It took about 3 hours before Jean started convulsing.
Okay. So, her convulsing makes me think like maybe she's got like a brain injury going on or something.
Smart little cookie.
And I just want to add to, like, to warm people up. Sometimes you could warm them up a bunch of different ways. A couple of the ways that we do it is you can put in like chest tubes and warm them up that way. You could put in a nasogastric or orogastric tube, so a tube through their nose or their mouth that goes into their belly to warm them up with warm fluids. Or you could even put in a Foley catheter, a urinary catheter, and give them warm fluids through that. It's kind of interesting, just so you guys are aware. There's a few ways you can warm people up.
I just learned about the urinary catheter way recently, and that was pretty interesting.
It's interesting.
It's like all of the cavities, they just fill it up with some nice warm fluid and call it a day.
You get that fluid in there, warming your organs up, because when you're in that state where you're so cold and your body just really slows down, and it takes the blood and the oxygen it's giving to, more, less important, I guess you would say, areas, and bringing it to other areas like vital organs, is trying to protect, prioritize what should get the limited resources that they have, basically. But when you're in a cold setting, like, your body's slowing down to such a point. That's why, like, her heart rate was
So
in the, low teens. Like, it's just like, I'm just going to preserve what we can. But actually, like, being in that cold temp can be, like, a productive factor.
Ris said a cute saying before. What was their saying, Ris?
Oh, they always say, like, you're not dead until you're warm and dead.
I don't know if it's cute, but it's definitely, I definitely have heard that before.
So you just warm them up. I mean, this lady had a pulse. So that's always awesome. But you warm them up before you can pronounce somebody dead. But, oftentimes, you hear stories similar to this one where their heart rate's really low, their temp's really low, and you warm them up and they, like, bounce back pretty quickly after their body's heated up.
Absolutely. Also, I wanted to throw it in there. The lowest temperature ever recorded in 2010 by a 7-year-old Swedish girl known as Stella. She had a body temperature of 55.4 degrees Celsius, which is 13 degrees Celsius.
You said Fahrenheit. You didn't say Fahrenheit at all. 55 Fahrenheit?
Yeah, and 13 degrees Celsius.
So, did she survive? No, she couldn't have survived. Did she?
Let me look it up.
I feel like with that low of a temp, it's probably very unlikely.
Stella. She was a Swedish girl. Swedish girl. Lowest temp survive. So, she survived.
Dang.
Isn't that crazy?
That's nuts.
She drowned in icy water December 23rd, 2010. Her body was found after 3.5 hours by a rescue helicopter, was brought to the hospital. Her temp, again, 13 degrees Celsius, 55.4 Fahrenheit, and they succeeded in saving her by warming her very, very slowly.
So, like, I think I say it later on in this podcast, because we only, recovered half of this podcast, but when you're kind of like, what you're looking at when you're, thinking about rates of, survival from these kinds of things, you're looking at, like, time that this person has been under, like, how long have they been down for? And age is a huge factor. Like, these girls had young hearts, and that's a huge protective factor in these situations. If you take, like, the body of an 80-year-old, they probably would not have survived these things. You know what I mean?
Exactly. 100% right.
I think it's, like, over age 50 that your numbers start lessening. Like, your rate of survival start lessening.
I got some good time left.
You got some time. You got some.
So when the doctors saw Jean starting to convulse, Dr. Sather, one of the doctors, described the sight of Jean's body as, quote, cold, completely solid, just like a hunk of meat out of a deep freezer. Everyone is likening her to a piece of meat.
Yeah. Well, I bet it's pretty shocking for them to see that too.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, it happens, especially like in wintertime, obviously. That people come in frozen. But I wouldn't say it's probably not that common of an occurrence for them to be to that level where their body is literally frozen solid.
Popsicle, yeah.
And their, the consistency of their skin is so hard and stiff.
So Jean, you think, like you mentioned, that maybe some kind of brain injury because of the convulsions. Miraculously, some would say, Jean was talking by noon.
Wow.
And with a little more than some numb, blistered toes, she was discharged. And she lived the rest of her life unaffected by her night as a human popsicle. That's amazing.
That is amazing.
So you might ask, Dee, how come this happened?
Dee, how come this happened?
Well, let me tell you. So we talk about the other young girl, the 7-year-old, and there's been other people. I think an adult, there was like, the child holds the record, but the adult was not far behind. So this happens where people can survive these drastic temperatures. But there are some species that thrive. One of which is the Antarctic blackfin ice fish, found in deep, deep sea environments. And they actually produce glycoproteins that act as a natural antifreeze. Get it? Anti-freeze. They don't freeze. Antifreeze.
That is funny, Dee. Very clever.
Thank you. There's another animal called the wood frog, which uses glucose. So their insides are kind of like a syrupy. So it doesn't freeze solid, if that makes sense. They're also resistant against dehydration, which I thought was cool. It's like a double-edged sword. They're able, well, what's the equivalent of like two benefits?
A win-win situation.
Win-win. Why it's so bad and so hard for humans when people freeze, it's the fact that this extreme cold causes expansion of water. And we are like 99.999% water. So when the expansion happens, cells rupture and the insides of the cells kind of just are on the outside. Big problem. Even ice crystals in the wrong location can prove a disaster, as they almost make needle-like shards that pierce these cell membranes. So again, when cells burst, they die, which causes something called necrosis or necrotic skin and muscle, which is essentially dead black patches, which is also known as frostbite. Not all necrosis is frostbite, FYI. Just want to clarify that. So just like the wood frog and the Antarctic blackfin ice fish, maybe Jean had some maladaptive, adaptive. I'm used to like maladaptive behaviors. Maybe had some adaptive behaviors. Well, she was not part wood frog.
Thank you for the clarification.
What this could be is, yes, a miracle and that she was found, but it could be the fact that this was the 1980s and maybe it wasn't as well understood as it is now.
Yeah.
So they described Jean's body as being frozen solid. Was she really frozen solid? Her temperature was still 88 degrees. She was not the same temperature that a hunk of meat would be in your deep freezer.
Yeah.
However, she does have several indicators of severe hypothermia, where muscle stiffness, it gets to a point where it's a lot like rigor mortis.
Mm-hmm.
So what is rigor mortis, Dee?
What is rigor mortis?
Rigor mortis is when someone passes away, they die, their body will go through different changes. And it has to do with ADP, ATP, and basically it falls out of the cells and it causes contraction.
Mm-hmm.
So it is a post-mortem change, that phenomenon that happens where the person who is deceased is stuck like a board.
Mm-hmm.
They get very, very stiff. Eventually it passes, but this stiffness that they're referencing is very similar to what happens when people have severe hypothermia. Like
That's very interesting. That's interesting. I mean, it makes sense.
Okay, I just want to wish Dr. K. Scarpetta a happy birthday as we talk about rigor mortis, because I would not know what rigor mortis is unless I read all of the books Patricia Cornwell has written about you. And we love you. You're fictional, but I still love you. Hope you're having the best birthday. I have to read your new book still. I've just been really busy.
She's sorry, Kay.
I love you, Kay. I love you.
How old is Kay now?
She's aging backwards, and then we're going to transition into the next video.
We'll see you in a second. She's aging backwards now.
She's aging backwards now. She's been like her niece is like also aging. Like the timeline is weird, but her niece, came out in the 1990s. Her niece was 10. She was 40.
Mm-hmm.
So 1940 or 1940, 1990s, 40s. That's 30 years ago. So she should be in her 70s, but she's not.
She's not 70.
I don't know. She's still working.
She might not want to retire.
Yeah, the times are inconsistent. I had to look it up, but in Blowfly, which is one of the books, I think it was early 2000s.
Okay.
Her niece was almost 30, and Dr. Scarpetta was only 46.
Oh.
So the timelines are just not.
Oh my gosh.
But that's okay. That's okay. It don't matter. It don't matter. It's fiction.
I gotta read those books.
I'm rereading them.
Can you give me the first one? Do you have it?
I do. I have the whole shebang.
Can I borrow the first one?
And if you lose it, I demand your firstborn.
Okay. You can already have my firstborn. In exchange for something.
What?
I'll get back to you on it.
Okay. It's like Rumpelstiltskin. It's like Rumpelstiltskin.
D is the modern day Rumpelstiltskin.
Yeah.
Well,
Cover my ears.
look at her. So, anyways, getting back to our topic, because I keep getting sidetracked. Jill's body was cold and white. Her eyes were glassy, and her eyes appeared to be frozen solid. You might say, D, that is not normal. However, in response to extreme cold, the body oftentimes restricts blood flow to the skin's blood vessels in order to prioritize blood flow to vital organs. This can lead to a very pale complexion and the body being very, very cold to touch. The next way to punch a hole in this story is to say, D, what about the bent needles?
Okay, D, what about needles?
Well, Riz, if the rigid muscles were covered by layers of dehydrated skin pressed tightly against the muscles, it is possible, theoretically, that this may lead to quite a few bent needles.
Okay.
I see. AKA, was she really frozen freaking solid? Or are these normal, more understood changes associated with patients who are exposed to extreme temperatures? That's the question. Is this a medical anomaly, or is this a rational explanation?
I think it's rational.
Was she? Are you saying she was dead and she came back?
No, she was she ever pulseless?
Mm-mm.
Then
They
how
said
was
she
she
should
dead?
have died.
She didn't, though.
She didn't. She survived, but they believe that she was solid.
Well, she was probably really cold and her body did,
Freeze up.
somewhat freeze. But I don't think she ever was dead and then returned to life. I think her body was just in such a slow state. And her heart rate was like in 12, 15 or whatever you said.
Modern day Nazareth.
I think her body just kind of was trying to preserve itself the best way that it could.
Mm-hmm.
And she
It
was
was-
young.
It was cool.
That was part of it.
Yeah, that's very true too, Mom. Young people are resilient.
If it was a nice, healthy heart,
Mm-hmm.
would a 80-year-old have survived that? Probably not.
Nope. So the moral of the story is we cannot be sure whether or not Jean's quote-unquote frozen state was a more typical presentation of hypothermia or if it really was a miracle.
Sounds like hypothermia. Severe hypothermia to me.
For Ris and the realists, it is hypothermia. For me and the dreamers, Dee and the dreamers, Ris and the realists, Dee and the dreamers. Why am I so clever?
I think that's pretty astute. Like an astute observation.
Maybe it was a miracle. Who knows?
Yeah. It was a miracle. Like anytime someone survives something like that, I feel like it is a miracle. Or overcoming like a huge obstacle. You don't, she could have very easily died. You know what? It's not only, how long was she out there?
It's over 6 hours.
Yeah. I mean, who's to say, I feel like timing is a huge factor. Age is a huge factor here. General health is a huge factor. You know what I mean?
Mm.
Like if she was out for 24 hours, 2 days, like it'd probably be highly unlikely she would survive. But, luckily I feel like things were in her favor.
Mm-hmm.
And she survived with, very minimal complications.
So, two things remain clear. Like Ris said, she was incredibly fortunate. And if not for her friend's fast response, Jean might have been just one of the thousands of deaths chalked up to hypothermia each and every year.
Mm-hmm.
Instead, the story of Jean Hilliard has become part of medical lore and a scientific curiosity. One that we may have solved today. End scene.
Very good, Dee.
Very good. Quite welcome.
All right. Do you have anything to add to your wonderful story today?
No trauma.
No trauma and no drama.
I like that. I like that. We are drama-less, trauma-less nurses. Actually, that's not true. That's not true on either part.
Well, we strive to be drama and trauma-less, but it doesn't work out that way. One can only hope. Right, Dee?
That's true.
All right. I'm exhausted.
Me
So is Dee.
too. We're on the same cycle.
We really are. I feel like every week we just talk about our periods. We're ovulating this week. Well, and this week we're preparing for our periods.
What phase you in? Luteal.
They probably can start being able to tell by our energy levels.
Listen, you know what? It's so funny because the more time you spend with someone, the more your cycle is linked up.
Mm-hmm.
And as soon as I see Ris, no, it wasn't the first thing I said to you.
She just looks at me with a knowing eye and says, "Are you PMSing?" I said, "Yep."
You?
Yep. Yep.
What day did you get it?
No, I didn't get my period yet. I'm just PMSing. premenstrual.
Oh,
I PMS good week and a half before I get it.
Me too.
Do you have it?
I have it.
Are we not synced up anymore then? Never mind. Basically every day I'm PMSing, so it's weird.
I get like rage. What was I talking about? Like PMDD.
Me too.
I get like rage before. I was this close. I was this close to bringing up with Dice last night because he wouldn't get out of the car to get me a blizzard. I need nothing.
You can't do this one thing for me.
I know this. I think I said that for freedom, but I was like, then I was like, okay, I need to relax. It's okay.
I need to chill.
I have overreacted a little bit. I was ready to. I was like, I just wanted a chocolate Oreo blizzard. Does that sound good?
You know the my favorite's the chocolate peanut butter cup. That's the only one I'll get.
That sounds
good.
Today, Jimmy and I were at Dunkin' Donuts, and Jimmy, he ordered his, and then Jimmy ordered mine, and I ordered a medium iced tea with lemon and 2 sugars.
Sounds delicious.
And the cashier said, "What?" And I said, "My God, I don't know why I got so irrationally angry that she like said, 'What?' And I said, 'A medium iced.' And she's like, 'We don't have lemons.' And I said, 'Oh, okay.'" I don't know why, but it irked me. And then later I'm like, "Jimmy, don't you think that was so rude?" And Jimmy's like, "It's just Dunkin' Donuts." He goes, "It's just Dunkin' Donuts. Like, it's
I would have been pissed too. I would have absolutely.
She was so rude to me. I'm like, why do you gotta say what?
Why though? Because you have lemon and sugar?
Because I guess they don't carry wet lemons, and I wanted a lemon, and she was like flabbergasted that I asked for a lemon.
They have lemon?
I guess not anymore.
Listen, that cannot be the weirdest thing she's heard at a Dunkin' Donuts on the East Coast.
I know, but she just seemed like I said something
Off.
like totally bizarre, and I was like, I repeated it back. I said, "A medium iced," and she interrupted me and said, "We don't have lemon." And I said,
What? How rude.
"No
How
lemon
rude.
then.
How rude.
I'll still get it, but I don't want any lemon if you don't have it." I think I was kind of overreacting, but she was also rude, so I don't know. I take that back. I don't think I was overreacting. I think Jimmy's wrong.
I don't think you were overreacting. Well, it's okay. You're talking about a girl that almost lit the whole house on fire with the blizzard over an Oreo blizzard.
You really won't get me a cheat-day blizzard? Chocolate with Oreo? Really? I guess you don't love me after all.
It's so funny that he knows me so well. And I probably, in the heat of the moment, said exactly. I probably was freezing.
You don't even know me.
I don't even know. What? All these years? What are they for? You'll tell me like that all the time. And keep in mind, my poor significant other has an injured back.
Oh, boy.
Poor guy.
I know. And I was totally...
You.
Jack was just disappointed he didn't get ice cream. That's all Jack cared about. I don't know which one of you is going to go get it, but one of you is going to go get my ice cream. My dog ate the TENS unit sticky pads.
TENS unit for your back?
Yeah. He like disconnected the wire.
You have a TENS unit?
A small one. That's Dias's.
Oh. He ate it?
He ate the sticker.
How? Does it smell like Thaddeus?
Yeah, he disconnected it from the wires and he ate the stickers.
How did he disconnect it?
I have no, with his teeth somehow or
His paws.
I like found the wire and I was like, because I thought he ate the wire, I was panicked. I called the vet and they're like, it's too late to make him induce it. He's gonna have to pass it. So I've been looking through every single poop.
Do you have a poop knife?
Yeah, I have a poop. I have a
Poop spoon?
plastic spoons. We're talking about the real nitty gritty.
We're really getting into it tonight.
All right, we're tired. Let's call it. Call it, Chris. What time is it?
The time is 1912. That is 7:12 p.m. for those of you who do not use military time. We are peacing out tonight.
Thank you, God.
Thank you, God. We're out of here.
We out of here. We outie.
It is June, so happy Pride Month to all of our LGBTQIA plus listeners. Have a great month, guys. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Tune in next week for another exciting episode of Time of Death.
Sounds like a commercial.
Keep killing it. Bye.
Killing it. Bye.
Say it more excited.
You're killing it. Bye.
Say it again.
You're killing it. You're killing it. You're killing it. You're killing it.
Okay. All right. I'm just going to stop it. All right. Bye.
Bye.
Oh, my God.